Imagine this. You walk down to the convenience store after dinner to pick up your favorite snack. Personally, I'd get a Kit Kat bar and a vanilla Coke. As you're walking back, it starts to rain. You pull up your hoodie and you keep walking home. You get back to your neighborhood and you start to feel uneasy. You're talking to a friend on the phone as you look around and you see someone staring at you from inside their car. It could be nothing. You start to walk back home and realize the person is following you. You're scared. You start walking faster. So do they. Your house is in sight now. You're almost safe and you start running to safety. The person catches up with you and you're scared for your life now. You yell, "What are you following me for?" You start fighting, and you try to defend yourself as much as you can, when bang! You feel a pain in your body. You're looking at the sky now. You feel pain, you feel the rain hitting your face, and then you feel nothing, as everything around you just goes black. At the time of his death, Trayvon Martin was a 17-year-old junior attending Dr. Michael M. Kropp High School in Miami, Florida. Now, there are major surface-level facts that most people that are familiar with his story know about, but I want to use this section to really get to know about Trayvon and what he was like. This info was pulled from the Tampa Bay Times news articles, CNN, and USA Today. So Trayvon was born February 5th, 1995 in Miami, Florida. Trayvon's family, friends, and teachers all referred to him as a kind, shy, and goofy person. At the age of 9, Trayvon saved his father's life by pulling him out of their burning apartment building when his legs were burnt too badly to move. Trayvon played football from ages 8 to 13. Coached by his dad and another man, his father would bench him when he messed up in school. Trayvon's cousin Steven shared in one article that Trayvon was really talented when it came to building, fixing, and riding dirt bikes. Trayvon had a love for planes, and when he entered high school, he quit football to put more time and energy into that. At 14, Trayvon enrolled in Experience Aviation, a 7-week summer program run by Barrington Irving, who is an award-winning aviator. After graduating from the program, Trayvon spent the next summer volunteering for the center and helping new students. Throughout high school, Trayvon would also volunteer after class at the Ferranzo Park concession stand until 8 or 9 p.m. As a teenager, he would also babysit his little cousins, taking them to Chuck E. Cheese and baking chocolate chip cookies for them. Trayvon transferred from Carroll City High School to Kropp High School in the midst of his sophomore year in hopes of having a better future and just being around a better environment. If you're from Florida, you know about Carroll City, so... His favorite subject was math, and all of Trayvon's teachers called him a respectful young man. His mother has shared that Trayvon was really excited to attend his junior prom, and he was never able to. Trayvon's Twitter name was Slim. He tweeted about girls he liked, jokes about street culture, sex, Krispy Kreme, ice cream, movies, and all-nighters. The people who knew Trayvon all said that he loved music and would always be wearing his hoodie up and his headphones on. At the time of his death, Trayvon was on a 10-day suspension for having a marijuana pipe in his backpack, but Trayvon did not have any juvenile record. Trayvon was hoping to attend either University of Miami or Florida A&M University. From hearing all of this, Trayvon was your typical teenage boy, and he sounds fun. I'd be friends with him. On February 26, 2012, Trayvon and his dad were visiting his dad's fiancée in Sanford, Florida. Her home was a townhouse that was located in a gated community that Trayvon had visited several times prior. Trayvon walked to a nearby 7-Eleven and bought Skittles and an Arizona iced tea to eat while watching the NBA All-Star Game. When he walked back into the neighborhood, he was spotted by George Zimmerman, neighborhood watch organizer. For the rest of this video, I will be referring to George Zimmerman as GZ, This video isn't about him, it's about Trayvon. Jeezy was not on duty that night, but he was running a different personal errand and had spotted Trayvon from his car. At 7:09, Jeezy had called the police on Trayvon, saying that there was a real suspicious guy walking around and looking about. At the same time, Trayvon was on the phone with a friend, and he told her that there was a crazy and creepy guy that was watching him. Jeezy then proceeded to get out of the car and follow Trayvon, although the police told him that it was not necessary. He didn't have to do that. Trayvon's friend also said in an interview with the state prosecutor that after walking away and losing Jeezy, Trayvon noticed him following him again and getting closer. She says that Trayvon told her that he was almost back at the townhouse, and she told him to run. She then heard Trayvon ask out, "What are you following me for?" And someone else responded, "What are you doing around here?" After hearing what sounded like, "Get off, get off," the call disconnected. After Zimmerman ended his call with the police, violence ensued that resulted in Zimmerman shooting and killing Trayvon Martin, 17 yards away from home.
7:11 p.m., February 26th, a rainy night in Sanford, Florida. George Zimmerman calls 911 to report a suspicious person in his neighborhood. That call would last 4 minutes.
Hey, we've had some break-ins in my neighborhood, and there's a real suspicious guy. The best address I can give you. This guy looks like he's up to no good, or he's on drugs or something. It's raining, and he's just walking around looking about.
Okay, and this guy, is he white, black, or Hispanic?
He looks black.
Did you see what he was wearing?
Yeah, a dark hoodie, like a gray hoodie, and either jeans or sweatpants and white tennis shoes. He's here now. He was just staring.
7:12. Phone records show Trayvon Martin is on the phone with his girlfriend. 7:13. Zimmerman is giving the dispatcher directions when he says the subject took off.
Are you following him?
Yeah.
Okay, we don't need you to do that.
Okay.
7:15. Zimmerman hangs up with 911.
Okay, no problem. I'll let them know to call you when they're in the area.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
At the same time, at 7:15, Trayvon Martin's girlfriend tells ABC News she's still on the phone with him.
He said his man was watching him. So I said, what you following me from? And the man come and said, "What you doing around here?" Somebody push Trayvon because the headset is down.
7:16, the line goes dead. At about the same time, a neighbor's call to 911 reveals background screaming and then a gunshot.
Do you need police, fire, medical?
Maybe both. I'm not sure. There's just someone screaming outside.
Okay. And is it a male or female?
It sounds like a male.
And you don't know why?
I don't know why. I think they're yelling help, but I don't know. Just send someone quick. Say stop.
Okay. Does he look hurt to you?
I can't see him. I don't want to go out there. I don't know what's going on. So they're sending.
So you think he's yelling help?
Yes.
All right. What is your phone number?
Just there's gunshots.
You just heard gunshots?
Yes.
How many?
This one.
Sometime between 7:19 and 7:30, Ayala says he tries to get a response from the subject on the ground. A sergeant arrives, checks a pulse. There is none. And both officers begin CPR. Another sergeant arrives and takes over chest compressions from Officer Ayala. The fire department arrives, attempts to revive the subject. And at 7:30, a paramedic pronounces the subject, Trayvon Martin, dead.
The trial of George Zimmerman took 16 hours and 2 days. Defense attorneys argued that Jeezy's actions were justified according to the Stand Your Ground law, and prosecution used witness testimonies to try and prove Trayvon's innocence and that he did nothing wrong. The trial was a wild ride, and reading about it definitely gave me a lot of insight that I didn't have before. All of the neighbors who heard Trayvon and Jeezy fighting were unable to precisely identify who it was that was screaming for help. Some neighbors said it sounded like a boy, some neighbors said it sounded like a man. No one could tell. The 911 calls with Jeezy and Trayvon fighting were also made inadmissible in court because, like I said, the neighbors weren't able to identify who it was that was yelling, and neither was the family. Jeezy's family said that it was him yelling, and Trayvon's family said that it was Trayvon's family yelling. They even went as far as to bring FBI experts into the case. They did their own examination of everything, and the FBI experts were unable to make a determination on who it was that could have been yelling.
Of those who say they heard the struggle, some told police they thought they heard a young boy screaming for help. One witness, Witness 6 as he's called in the documents, thought it was the voice of a grown man. The FBI looked into this too, but their audio analysis was inconclusive, saying it couldn't determine whose voice it was due to the, quote, extreme emotional state of the person yelling, plus overlapping voices. The FBI said there was an insufficient voice quality on the recording.
Trayvon's defense used Rachel Gentile, who is the girl who was on the phone with Trayvon at the time of this whole incident, as their witness. She explained what she heard over the phone and what I had stated earlier to the prosecution, and on cross-examination, the defense questioned Gentile's reliability because she had lied about why she didn't go to Trayvon's wake and why the info about her being the person on the phone with Trayvon didn't surface until 3 weeks after it happened, when Trayvon's dad was going through the phone bill. Gentile explained that she lied about being at the hospital at the time of the wake because she felt guilty about being the last person to talk to him and she didn't want to see the body. And then she also said that she didn't go to police because she figured that that was their job to find her and come question her about what she had heard.
So you thought then that somebody at some point would figure that out with the cell phones and then contact you?
Yes. That's not what officers do.
She also lied about why she never attended Trayvon Martin's funeral.
You don't know how I felt. You think I really want to go see the body after I just talked to him?
I strongly urge you to read through information about the trial and the case, because there were so many he said, she heard, he saw types of information that was put out there, and different things that were said that I could see why the jury was swayed. Not that it makes it right, but I could see things that would have swayed the jury one way or the other. I also want to mention that in his opening statement, Jeezy's defense attorney said this.
Knock, knock. Who's there? George Zimmerman. George Zimmerman, who? All right, good. You're on the jury.
In a murder case of a child. In the closing statements, prosecution told the jury that a teenager was dead due to no fault of his own because Jeezy was profiling and made assumptions about him and wanted to play policeman. In their closing statements, the defense told the jurors not to fill in the gaps or connect the dots and to just use the facts that were in front of them. On July 13th, 2013, 6 jurors came to the deliberation that Jeezy was not guilty for both second-degree murder or the lesser charge of manslaughter, and third-degree murder was not an option that was available to the jury. Jeezy walked out free of any charges. After being outraged that an arrest had not been made, Trayvon's parents reached out to a civil rights attorney and a publicist. From March 5th 2012, the story was reported on national media outlets such as Reuters, CBS This Morning, ABC World News, and CNN. Within the 30 days following Trayvon's death, his name was tweeted more than 2 million times. On March 21st, 2012, protesters held a Million Hoodie March in Union Square.
Whenever this kind of, injustice happens, we need to really step up as a people and fight, for our rights.
Groups like the NAACP spoke out and led way for new movements to be born. People started tweeting out the hashtag of Black Lives Matter for the first time, and after GZ was acquitted, the hashtag became more than just a hashtag. It became a national organization known as the Black Lives Matter Global Network. Since then, the Black Lives Matter movement has only grown to something beyond what anyone could have imagined at the time. Both Tracy Martin and Sabrina Fulton stay active in the movement today by speaking out for other victims of violence and remembering Trayvon through the book Rest in Power, The Enduring Life of Trayvon Martin, and the movie Rest in Power, The Trayvon Martin Story. Currently, Sabrina Fulton is running for a seat for the Miami-Dade County Board of Commissions. She's running for District 1, which is Miami Gardens. If this is your district, you should definitely check out what she stands for. Go look at her website and definitely consider voting for her. You know she stands for the people. So after all of this, there are people who still think today that GZ was in the right or acting in self-defense. I would say that GZ is guilty of murder, second-degree murder. If you disagree, here's some more information about GZ. First off, GZ was saying that Trayvon had attacked him and that he was acting in self-defense, that GZ was nearly beaten to death. This is what he told the courts, and that was the information that he put out there. However, medical analysts have looked at the timestamps of when GZ was picked up from the crime scene and when he arrived at the police station, and it doesn't leave him much time at all to be looked at for his life-threatening wounds.
This reveals there was little, if any, medical attention given to George Zimmerman. If the paramedics were with Trayvon Martin until 7:30 when they pronounced him dead, according to my calculations, I have taken about 14 to 15 minutes from them to get Zimmerman from the scene to the police station. I have them only attending to Mr. Zimmerman between 7:30 and 7:38, about 8 minutes to do an assessment, to treat him for any wounds. He wasn't injured that bad.
8 minutes to attend for those damaging wounds. And if you look at the CCTV footage of GZ walking through the police station, he's not limping. He doesn't look like he was just fighting for his life. He looks fine, honestly. Next, following Trayvon's death, GZ committed domestic violence against his wife, threatening to use a gun on her. There are 911 calls that show this. And then later, he committed domestic violence against a girlfriend. There are also accounts of a former coworker of his saying how he used racist remarks towards him. Next, the first thing the GZ did when they got to court was give a half-hearted apology to Trayvon's parents.
I wanted to say I am sorry for the loss of your son. I did not know how old he was. I thought he was a little bit younger than I am, and I did not know if he was armed or not.
But then in the first interview he gave on Hannity, he said that it was all in God's plan that he shot Trayvon. And then later in that interview, he said how he wished things could have ended differently so that he didn't have to. Well, things could have. He could have stayed in his car when the dispatcher told him he didn't need to follow Trayvon.
I feel that it was all God's plan, and for me to second guess it or judge it. But I do wish that there was something, anything I could have done that wouldn't have put me in the position where I had to take his life.
Next, we have the fact that GZ put up for auction the gun that killed Trayvon Martin, yes, titled like that, to an auction website. He received $250,000 for it.
What I've decided to do is not cower. I'm a free American, and I can do what I'd like with my possessions.
Zimmerman has said he'll spend the money he makes from the gun auction on various causes that matter to him. Scott, he specifically names preventing violence against police in the Black Lives Matter movement.
What? Next, Jeezy has continually played the victim in following years. In this past year, he has sued Elizabeth Warren and Pete Buttigieg for $265 million for subtweeting him. It was for defamation, and you see the pictures of the tweets. It's for subtweeting him. In this past year, he has also sued Trayvon Martin's family for $100 million, claiming conspiracy against them for using a fake witness referring to Rachel Jeantel. He was acquitted. He got off free. So why would he even care if they did use a fake witness? And I'm not saying they did, and I wouldn't blame them if they did either. They were mad and they were justified to do so. Their child was murdered, and there were no witnesses, and the murderer was just going to get away with it, which is so on par for the justice system that we have here in this country. If it was a fake witness, which honestly I don't think it was, I think they were just scared and they wanted better chances of winning a case to get justice for their son, and that didn't even happen. Last thing, Jeezy's father, Robert Zimmerman Sr., is a retired Virginia magistrate, a judge. Do you see where I'm going with this? Not only does that get him advice from his judge father, possibly access to better lawyers, but I'm gonna say it, nepotism. Do family members of cops get tickets? I haven't seen it. I think that things probably went closely to how Mike McManus, I believe, showed in his YouTube video. I used a couple clips at the beginning, but I wanna reiterate that that was his video, and I'm going to be putting a link to that as well in the description. I know that this has been a long video, and I want to say thank you if you're still watching. I want to do more videos like this about Black people who have unjustly lost their lives. I can't say every video will be as long as this one, because sadly there isn't as much info and reporting and attention brought to cases that should have attention brought to them, you know, just as much as Trayvon. Every single one of these people is a life of someone who had friends and family, and they were important. And that's kind of why I wanted to start doing this. We can't say their names, and I think it's important that we do that, like so wholeheartedly important that we say their names. And I think it's also important that we know their stories and know what happened to them and know who they were as people. I didn't know Trayvon personally, and unfortunately I never will, but I hope what I said was fair to him and helped people know him a little bit better. It definitely helped me. There were so many things that I learned when I was researching that I literally did not know before, and that's my own fault because the information was there. Please check out the links in the description to find useful resources on how you can help the Black Lives Matter movement, different petitions that you can sign, different donations that you can donate to Black businesses, everything like that, that will help to the cause. Also, if you can, go watch the documentary Rest in Power, the Trayvon Martin story. It is available on Amazon Prime for free for Prime members, and if not, a couple dollars to rent it. I will also be including the links to all of the sources that I used and where I got my information from. If you like this video, give it a like, I guess, but most importantly, share the video so that more people can see it and more people can learn a little bit more about Trayvon. Like I said, I'm going to do another one of these on someone else who has lost their life unfairly and unjustly, and maybe we don't know as much about that person. I don't know yet. This is someone that everyone basically knows his name, but I still thought it was important to do this video. I chose Trayvon because it's still important. He is still important. His life happened, and a lot of it happened right in my backyard. I know the towns that he's lived in. I know the schools that he's gone to. And honestly, he probably went and got pub subs and chicken tenders like me. His death was the first that opened up my eyes as a 13-year-old to the fact that there are still injustices that Black people are facing today in this day and age. And I felt like it was important to make my first video about him. I am completely done now. Thank you for watching and stay safe.